Life is a roller coaster full of ups and downs and twists and turns, and sometimes it's hard to even know if we're right side up or upside down. When that happens, it's easy to lose sight of the things that are most important to us. In today's video, I'll tell you about a man whose life was full of extreme highs and even more extreme lows, but who through it all remained faithful. And his life will help us get our heads around what the fruit of the Spirit of faithfulness looks like. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Brian, and this is Practically Biblical. This channel is all about sharing stories of Scripture and offering practical insights that I hope encourage you to explore the Bible more for yourself. So, if you've ever found the Bible confusing or hard to understand, consider subscribing to this channel for fresh content every week to help you grow in your knowledge and understanding of the Scriptures, because I believe that knowledge and that understanding will change your life. Before we get into the video, I want to give you one quick update. I will be moving into my new studio space this week, and I'm excited because these videos will have a whole new look and feel about them. If you want updates, I post daily content and updates about that studio over on Instagram, so follow me at Practically Biblical. Pop on over there right after this video and check it out. Now let's jump into today's story. Well, we're nearing the end of our series on the fruit of the Spirit with only 3 left, including this video on faithfulness. And when I think about what faithfulness is, I think about the stories of a man in the Old Testament by the name of Joseph. You can read all about him way back in the Old Testament book of Genesis. Joseph was the 11th son of 12, but he was the first by his father's favorite wife, which all sorts of wrong there that maybe we'll talk about another time. But Joseph was the favorite. And at one point in his life, he had a series of dreams that indicated one day his brothers and his parents would bow down before him. You can imagine the anger and contempt and jealousy that conversation bred among his already bitter brothers. Tornado warning coming. Got to get this done quickly. So when his brothers saw an opportunity to be rid of Joseph forever, they took it and sold him as a slave to a group of travelers on their way to Egypt. They reported back to their father that Joseph had been ripped apart and eaten by wild animals. While Joseph's father mourned and his brothers stayed silent, Joseph was then sold to a man named Potiphar, who was the captain of the guard and servant to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. That should have been the end of Joseph. But he proved himself faithful to his job and to his master and was soon promoted to manager over Potiphar's entire household. Soon Potiphar's wife took notice of Joseph and on a number of occasions invited him to sleep with her, but each time he refused and her advances got bolder. Finally, Joseph had to flee from her presence just to escape, and while he was running, she grabbed a hold of his cloak and ripped it off, and used it then as evidence to accuse him of attempted rape and had him thrown into the king's prison. And that should have been the end of Joseph. But while in prison, Joseph continued to be faithful to who he was and to do what the Lord asked of him. And he quickly moved through the ranks from inmate to manager of the prison, second only to the warden himself. On one occasion, Joseph had an encounter with 2 of Pharaoh's officials who had been thrown into the same prison. These officials had a number of dreams that no one could interpret, but Joseph, the dreamer himself, was able to step up to the plate and accurately interpret their dreams, and in return asked that when they were restored to service in Pharaoh's court, that they would share Joseph's case with Pharaoh himself. But by the time the cupbearer was restored to service, he had forgotten all about Joseph. And that also should have been the end of Joseph. Then years later, Pharaoh himself had a series of really disturbing dreams that no one could interpret, or maybe no one wanted to interpret for him. Then it dawned on the cupbearer that Joseph was able to interpret his dreams when he was in prison, and maybe Joseph could help Pharaoh. So sure enough, Pharaoh had Joseph summoned from prison, and Joseph was able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, which included 7 years of prosperity for their crops, for their wealth, for the kingdom of Egypt. But then those 7 years of prosperity would be followed by 7 years of famine. So his advice to Pharaoh was to prepare, to store up during the years of prosperity to prepare for the years of famine. Pharaoh, impressed by Joseph's boldness, wisdom, and foresight, promoted Joseph once again from second in command of the prison he resided in to second in command of the nation of Egypt, the most powerful nation on the planet. So we're back. Had to take a time out for a bit of a tornado warning that just blew through. So here we are back. Where was I? Joseph was 17 years old when he was sold into slavery by his brothers, and 30 years old when he entered Pharaoh's service. So, in just 13 years, he went from favorite son in his homeland to slave in a foreign land, to head of his master's household, to prisoner in the king's prison, to second in command of that prison, to prime minister of Egypt. Talk about a crazy life. And as it turned out, Joseph's dreams were eventually realized as his brothers and his family all bowed down before him in a way that no one could have predicted. But I'll leave that story for you to read for yourself. Through all the ups and downs of Joseph's life, there was one thread that tied it all together: his faithfulness. Let's define what that means. Faithfulness is a steadfast commitment to act in accordance with what you believe. Joseph believed in the Lord and believed the Lord was with him no matter what. It was that belief that caused him to act in ways that would honor and glorify God regardless of his circumstances. Do you or I have the faithfulness that Joseph demonstrated throughout his life? Well, it's hard to say at any given moment, but here's what I do know. Joseph went through a lot in his life, and as he took small steps of faith, the larger steps didn't seem so insurmountable. And the good news for us is that our faithfulness will grow as well as we too take the small steps. There's a lot more we could learn from Joseph and how he modeled faithfulness for us. But for now, I want to give you the question of the day, which is this: is it easiest for you to be faithful in the good times or the difficult times? For you, it might be different than it is for me, so let me know in the comments below. And just as a reminder, as this video ends, pop on over to Instagram and follow me at Practically Biblical for daily content and updates to the new Practically Biblical studio. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this video. If you found it at all helpful or insightful, let me know by clicking that thumbs up icon. And if you're interested in more content just like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I release new content every Wednesday to help you grow in your knowledge and understanding of the Bible, because I believe it will change your life. So come on back and we'll continue this journey here on Practically Biblical.